deliver, arises. Now, if it is a pure obligation, if it is a pure obligation, the obligation, to deliver arises from its perfection. But if it's conditional or subject to a period, it is in a conditional obligation subject to suspensive condition, the obligation to deliver will arise only upon the fulfillment of the condition. Or if it is one subject to a period, suspensive period, the obligation to deliver arises only after the arrival of the period. So you have to take note, sa contract of sale, can you sell you can sell your parcel of land orally. That is valid, although it is unenforceable, but if there is payment, it is taken, it is already validated. You can enforce that in court. So let's say, for example, I will give you, it's a pure obligation. I will give you I will sell to you this parcel of land, 1 hectare parcel of land. Okay. So pagbayad, igbabayaran na sa class, the obligation to deliver arises, pure obligation. There's no condition. But if it is again subject to condition, I will give you a car if you pass the etc. Una pa mo arise and the obligation to deliver upon the happening of the condition. Take note of that. Okay. Again, before the delivery, the creditor only acquires personal right. After the delivery, the creditor acquires a real right over the property. Now, and when we talk about personal right, this is the right to demand, available to the creditor, to demand from his debtor the delivery of the thing and its fruits. And it is enforceable only against your obligor, your debtor. A real right is the right of possession or ownership, and it is available against the whole world, enforceable against the whole world. Okay. In the case of Magdaleno and Padilla, spouses Magdaleno and Cleofe Padilla versus Bragat, OJR number 187013, April 22, 2015. Okay. Do you have any volunteer? And this is your chance not to volunteer. I'll ask you to, in Ma'am Razonable. Did you submit your index card already?
I asked my classmate to submit it last time, attorney.
Let's see if you have an index card. If not, I will skip your
Okay, attorney.
volunteer. You did submit your index card. Now, sige. I will ask you a question out of this case. What is the... Okay, sige. You discuss the case first, Mama.
So, in the case of spouses Magdaleno and Cleofe Padilla versus Feb Bragat, a land originally owned by the spouses Pastrano was sold to Eustaquio Ledesma, who later verbally sold a portion of it and delivered the duplicate title of the same to spouses Padilla, who took possession and continuously occupied the area. The remaining portion of the lot was sold to spouses Bragat. However, despite no longer owning the land, Pastrano executed a deed of sale in favor of Feb Bragat. So,
Ma'am Persephone, how do you...
Persephone, attorney.
So there was a double sale now?
Yes,
correct?
attorney.
So,
Yes, attorney.
Pastrano sold the property to Ledesma. And then Ledesma, it was Ledesma sold it verbally to
Padilla, attorney.
and then on a later date,
And the remaining parcel was sold to the spouses Bragat.
on a later date, Pastrano sold the property, or portion of the property to the Bragat.
Yes, attorney.
Bragat, So the sale to Bragat included the portion sold to
To Padilla,
Okay.
attorney.
So can the spouses be made to, the spouses Badilla be made to vacate the property?
No, attorney,
Yes.
because
Because
the title of the land was given to them and they have occupied the land. So it parang they have possessed the land in that way, attorney.
applying Article 1164, although it may not have been expressly mentioned in the case, how is it applicable to 1164? What is
So,
the required by spouses Badilla in this case?
So applying the Article 1164, in this case, the court held that Badillas were entitled to all rights, benefits, and accessions of the land from the time the obligation to deliver arose and was fulfilled through their physical possession. And
Okay.
Braga's later acquisition.
Okay. Persephone, was there already delivery in this case?
Yes, attorney, in the form of the TCT, attorney, the document.
And even possession, correct? No?
Yes, attorney.
How about the fact that at the time the spouses of Badilla acquired ownership over the land, no, it was an unregistered transaction. And on the other hand, spouses Bragat, they were able to, hastily, able to register their claim. No, meaning na wala, will it affect the rights of spouses Badilla over the land? No, considering na naman si Bragat, no, holding a title over the land as proof of ownership. How about that?
I don't think so, attorney, because it is a well-settled rule that no one can give what one does not have. And accordingly, in this case, one can sell or one can have only what one owns or is authorized to sell.
And you're referring,
So in the case of Pastrano, attorney, that he
Yeah,
cannot
right.
sell it to
Bragat, correct? Because he already lost
Yes,
Pastrano,
sure.
his ownership or even the rights over the land. So see, from the moment there's delivery, and actually the spouses Badilla took possession of the land, no. So there was already they already have a real right over the property, and it is enforceable even against third person. No, so take note here, it is not registration that transfers ownership. Although it is the best proof of ownership, but it is it's not it is not a mode of acquiring ownership. Title, it's not. Now, under your law on property, you only have occupation, law, all tips ako, donation, tradition, which is in our example, sale or delivery, intellectual creation, prescription, and succession. Those are the only legitimate modes of acquiring ownership. And it's not registration, the title is not among the modes of the legitimate acquisition of acquiring, ownership over property, So only those, recognized by law. Okay, so that is the case of, say, thank you, ma'am. Razonable para sa phone. So, January 8, Sige. Sige, 1165, no? Okay. The first paragraph, this talks about some real obligation, to deliver a real specific obligation. Okay? Meaning, specific siya, determinate, real obligation. So what are the rights or the remedies of the creditor? So aside from the right granted under Article 1170, what is that right granted under Article 1170? Sige, Ma'am Persephone, give me a number.
3, attorney.
3. Si Carl Christopher Pineda. What is that right available to the creditor under Article 1170 is here present.
Yes, attorney. I'm present.
Sige na, what is that right?
Obligations regarding in guilty of fraud, negligence, or delay.
So what is the right
Uh,
available to the in such a case? There's fraud, there's delay, there's negligence.
They are those who perform their obligations with such are liable of any damages.
Liable for damages. No, that is under 1165. So aside from the damages, no, that the creditor may demand, no, from the debtor or obligor, he may also, if it is a specific or determinate real obligation, he may also compel delivery. So damages plus delivery. No? Okay, it's in what if it is a generic or indeterminate thing and the debtor or obligor fails to deliver? What are the remedies available to the creditor? Of course, damages under Article 1170, and then he can ask that the obligation be complied with at the expense of the debtor. That is under the second paragraph. No? The third paragraph, on the other hand, no, talks about the liability of a person who have already incurred delay or has promised to deliver the same thing to two different persons of different interests. No, they are liable for the loss of the thing, even if the thing is lost due to fortuitous event. Take note, as a general rule, the thing, loss of the thing is a way of extinguishing obligation. No, it will extinguish your obligation, especially if it's a specific or determinate thing. However, in the third paragraph, no, this gives us an instance, no, wherein you're liable even if it is lost due to fortuitous event. No? And that is when you are considered, you are already in delay, no, or you promised the same thing to two persons of different interest. Say for example, no, Pedro allowed lend his car to Jose. No, ipahiram niya yung sakyanan kay Jose. And then he offered to sell it to Maria. Okay. Maria, I will sell to you the car in the possession of Jose. Ipahiram na ako sa. Then later on, si Pedro also promised to sell that same car to him, no? Jose, baligyan na ako na sa imuha ng sakyanan. So, in such a case, Pedro promised the same thing to two different persons of different interest. Now, dahil hayag interest si Jose because he's already in possession of the property, and also the third person, Maria, they have different interests, no? So, in such a case, if the thing is lost, no, of course, it's a determinate or specific thing. No, the debtor, in our example, Pedro or the obligor, he is liable for the loss of the property, even if it's lost due to fortuitous event. Okay, and delay. If there's already delay, no, you are liable for fortuitous event. Okay, take note. Sige. This one, no, the obligation to, let's go back to kanto ganing sources of obligation, juridical tie or vinculum juris we mentioned lahat, diba? If it is law, obligations derived from law, they are never presumed. But obligations from contract, they may be implied, no? This is one example, no? If you are obliged to give a specific or determinate thing, you are also obliged to deliver its accessions and accessories. So for example, kung magpapalit kang sakyanan, of course, included therein are the accessories na nasa sakyanan, no? Like sa kanto mga leather nimo, covers, seat covers, etc. Also pa yung mga ipambutan dyan sa sakyanan, mga matting, etc. They are included. Or kanang imuhang ligid na imuhang usab, no? They are included in the sale. Accessories, they are included, no? And for example, if you buy a parcel of land, included therein are the trees, the improvements, or even the animals found therein. So unless of course there's stipulation to the contrary, the accessions, those produced either naturally or artificially in the land. Okay. Sige. So this is one example, no, where obligation, if it's a contract, no, obligation may be implied, no, not only expressed. Unlike in laws, obligations derived from law. Okay, so take note. Although they are not mentioned, no, they are deemed included in your obligation to deliver, no, unless of course when it is expressly provided na they are not included, the accession or accessory they are not included, no, the parties can stipulate on that. Okay. Sige. This one talks about the remedy of the creditor, no, or the obliging. This is a personal obligation, no, because this is to do, no. Okay. And the person, the obligor or the debtor, fails to perform his obligation. So what is the remedy of the creditor? What is the right available to the creditor under the first paragraph? Sige daw, si Sir Carl Christopher Langyapon Pineda. If you fail to do something, what shall be the consequence?
You are you are still liable in a way that you are the one will like repair for the damages that you caused in the obligation.
You fail to do something. Sige. Suppose,
Yes,
Carl Christopher, no, I contracted you to build me say for example, to build me or to to construct me a kuan man lang kanang balay sa iro, no, example na no, for the sake of discussion, and then you fail to do it, what will happen? What is my remedy as your obligee or creditor?
To recover the damages or the indemnity.
And what is provided in the first paragraph of 1167, no? The same shall be executed at your
The
cost.
same shall be observed if he does it in contravention of tenor of the obligation.
Furthermore, lahi na po na siya nga sir nga ikuan Carl Christopher. So if you fail to do something, kanang second paragraph, you do something in contravention of the tenor man na siya, no, nagbutbuot ka, ipahimo ka og aparador 2-door nga kuan na cabinet, butbuot ka, himot ka ning 3 doors kay kuanin ka nang mas nindot ni, no, you contravene the tenor of your obligation, no. So sa first paragraph, if you fail to do it, it shall be executed at your cost. The second paragraph, if you contravene the tenor, it shall be the same rule shall be applied, no. It shall be undone, no, or it shall be destroyed, you know, at
your own cost.
No, at your own cost. What if it's poorly done, no? You don't like the result of the it's not what you contracted for, no, di na mo atong sabutan, no. It may be decreed that what has been poorly done be undone. So, but remember, can you compel your obligor or the debtor to do it against his will? Say for example, Carl, no, gusto jud ko ikaw mo himo na magpanday ng kulungan, no? Can you do it against the will of the the obligor?
No attorney the creditor can find another person to do the same.
So he can do it himself. No, but you cannot certainly, no, compel your debtor or obligor to do it against his will, because that would be voluntary, no, involuntary servitude. So you can do it on your own and then ask for it will be executed at the cost of the debtor and plus damages pa, no, plus damages pa for the breach that was committed by the obligor, the debtor. Okay. This one is a negative personal obligation. You are told, no, you're obliged not to do something, but you did, and anyway, in contravention of that prohibition to do something, you did it. Now, what will be the consequence? No, the same. Now, it shall also be undone at the expense of the obligor or the debtor. So, relate that to the case of Fajardo versus Freedom to Build. No, GR number 134692, August 1, 2000. Volunteer. Or will you want, sige lang. So we have, yan kami ni una. Sige, si Ma'am Libre. Sabi ako ano, si Wishan.
So,
Wishan for being the medium.
nauna mo po ka-brace kay Ismael Attorney.
Okay. So, relate the case to the negative personal obligation, and you do it against the prohibition. How is it related to this article, the case?
So, it is related to Fajardo versus Freedom to Build because in the case of Fajardo and versus Freedom to Build, the spouses Fajardo bought a housing from Freedom to Build builders in Marikina, and it also the contract to sell also contained a restrictive covenant providing certain prohibitions where there should be no structure. There are three actually prohibitions, and those prohibitions, the spouses Fajardo actually built on the prohibitions that was prohibited. So the Freedom to Build filed before the lower courts an action to demolish the unauthorized structure. So the RTC judgment actually directed the spouses to demolish and remove any extension of their expanded house that exceeds the limitation imposed by the restrictive covenant. So the issue on the case is that whether or not the restrictive covenant should be honored when the Freedom to Build has no more personality in the said situation. So it was held.
Why is it that Freedom to Build already lost the personality?
It has already allegedly they have relinquished their ownership or right or interest over the subdivision upon the execution of the deed of absolute sale in favor of the individual homeowners. And as per the contract between the Freedom to Build and the De La Costa homeowners, the enforcement of the prohibition contained in the restrictive covenant is now lodged into the homeowners association. So the petitioner maintained that it is incumbent upon the homeowners association and not on the Freedom to Build to enforce the compliance with the provisions of the covenant.
Okay, another question, Ma'am Libre. What about the argument of the petitioner na the contract simply provided for a restrictive covenant, but it does not provide for any penalty? Say for example, you are just being the covenant only provided na you are not allowed to build something beyond this and that. There is no consequence. There is no penalty provided in the contract. That's the argument of the petitioner. So, you cannot ask for the demolition of the thing because it's not provided in our contract. It simply provided for a restrictive covenant. What was the ruling of the court on that matter?
The ruling, the legal basis was Article 1168. While it provided that you cannot or it is prohibited to do this and do that, it was also given that when the obligation consists in not doing, and the obligor does what has been forbidden him, it shall be undone at his expense. So in this case, despite repeated warnings from the respondent, still the Fajardos put up or extended their house to a point directly in the prohibited line or in the prohibited area stipulated in the contract. So the court held the Supreme Court held that since the extension constructed exceeds the floor area limits, provided in the restrictive covenant, the petitioner's spouses should be required to demolish, can be required to demolish the structure to the extent that it exceeds the prescribed floored area limits, because restrictive covenants are valid stipulations insofar as they are reasonable, and restrictive covenants are also valid and enforceable. So the ruling of the court, they ruled in favor of the freedom to build.
Okay, thank you so much, Ms. Ma'am Libre. No? Okay, that is the case of Fajardo versus freedom to build. No? Okay. Sige, this one is the principle of there is no demand when there is no delay. I mean, there is no delay when there is no demand. No delay, no demand, no delay. So, natugo, no demand, no delay. No? So as a rule, no, you are those obliged to deliver to do something only incur in delay, no, from the time there is demand from the obligee or the creditor. And what is the form of demand? It could either be judicial or extrajudicial. Does it need to be in writing? No, there is no requirement. No, the demand should be in writing. No, okay. However, no, in the following instances, there is no need for demand to be considered in delay. No, that is when the obligation or the law expressly so declare, or when the nature and the circumstances of the obligation, it appears that the designation of the time is the controlling factor or motive for the establishment of the obligation, or when demand would be useless, as when the obligor has rendered it beyond his power to perform, and also in reciprocal obligation. Take note, sale transaction involves reciprocal obligations on both the seller and the buyer. The seller has the obligation to deliver the title, to deliver possession of the land. The buyer also has the obligation to pay the full purchase price. Once the either party has already performed his obligation, delay by the other begins. Suppose nakabayad na ang buyer sa full purchase price, kung delay by the other begins, the moment na mag-deliver ang seller. So take note of that. No demand, there is no delay. Okay, no demand, no delay na principle. Okay, kinds of delay, we have mora solvendi, default on the part on the, okay. Just for the sake of discussion, is delay, what's the difference between delay and default? Any idea? A distinction between delay and default. Okay. Do you think? Any volunteer daw from, I don't know, what's the difference between delay and default? Judith daw, Salcedo. How are they different? Judith.
Okay, the distinguishment between ordinary delay and legal. Hello? Tony,
Yes,
am I
yes.
audible?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, the distinction between ordinary delay and legal delay or mora is that legal delay or mora is the failure to perform an obligation on time, on which failure constitutes a breach of the obligation. On the other hand, ordinary delay is merely the failure to perform an obligation in time.
So in other words, delay is the mere delay
Is a mere failure to perform an obligation in time po.
in a given period of time. Says default, there's default when there's demand. So, kunta, your due date for your monthly rental is January 15. Upon the arrival of the period, you are considered in delay. But once there's already demand, there is default. Unless of course when delay is not anymore necessary because it falls under the exceptions mentioned in Article Article 1169, meaning the 4 circumstances mentioned under Article 1169. So the requisites for default, obligation is demandable and already liquidated. The debtor does not perform the obligation. The creditor demands the performance of the obligation either judicially or extrajudicially, and the debtor fails to comply with such a demand. That's the time that the debtor or obligor will be considered in default. So technically speaking, you can use the terms interchangeably, delay or default. But to be technical, delay is the mere arrival of time and you fail to perform your obligation. But default in a legal sense is your failure to comply with your obligation despite demand made by your obligee or your creditor. Okay? So, sige, take note. Let's discuss the case of Megaworld Globus Asia Incorporated versus Tanseco. Yan ay volunteer. You have a volunteer? Wala. Judith, can you give me a number 1 to 5? Judith.
3 po.
Si Adrian Cifuentes. Dwight.
Good evening, attorney. For the case of Mega World Globus Asia versus Mila Tanseco, the facts of the case are on July 7, 1995, Mega World Globus Asia and Mila S. Tanseco executed a contract to buy and sell for a 224 square meter condominium unit in the pre-selling project, the Salcedo Park in Makati, for a total price of 16,802,037 pesos, 0.32 cents. The payment scheme required a 30% down payment, less for a 100,000 pesos reservation fee on July 14, 1995. A 13 monthly installments of 308,037.35 pesos from August 1995 to January 1998.
Right, Adrian, how are they relevant, the figures? How are they relevant to the case?
These are the figures that Tanseco paid except for the balance of 2,520,305 pesos, which was supposed to be paid upon the delivery of the condominium unit.
Okay, so you go directly to the point on. You need not mention the payments made per. So there was payments made, but the payment was not complete. Is that what you're trying to say?
The payments were made by Tanseco po. However, she was waiting for the delivery of the condominium unit by the Mega World Globus Asia for her to complete the payment of the 2 million plus pesos. And then before, upon the set time limit that Mega World gave, and including the grace period, she did not receive the transfer of the unit. Therefore, she demanded for it to be she demanded for it po.
Sige, a question. Is the Mega World liable in this case, or was it considered in default in this case?
Mega World argued that due to the Asian financial crisis during that time, they said that it was the reason why they were unable to fulfill their obligation right away.
Question, Sir Adrian. It requires a yes or no answer lang.
Yes.
Was it considered in default already? Mega World?
Yes, attorney.
Okay, so how about the fact na was demand necessary for the Mega World to be considered in delay in this case?
No, attorney, demand was not necessary for Mega World.
For a demand, there is no need for a demand?
There is no need for a demand because according to Article according to the contract between MegaWorld and Tanseco, the the financial situation was not fortuitous event.
No, we are not talking of fortuitous event. No, we are talking about no demand, no delay. 1169 pata.
Apo.
Yan. So how do you relate that to the case? As a rule, there must be demand before you are considered in default. In this case, okay, was you mentioned already that MegaWorld was considered in delay, was declared in default, and why is that?
They were not able to deliver the unit to Tanseco between the allotted time and even including the grace period, attorney.
Okay, but we just mentioned that it's you need to make a demand, no, before you are considered in default. So the apple of the period to deliver, say for example, on January 15, MegaWorld was supposed to deliver possession of the property. Now comes January 15, it was not able to deliver the property. That is only delay. Di ba? So why was it ruled na he was MegaWorld was already considered in default in this case?
For the case of MegaWorld and Tanseco, it is considered a reciprocal obligation, so neither party incurs in delay if the other does not comply or is not ready to comply in a proper manner with what is incumbent upon him. For the case of Tanseco and MegaWorld, Tanseco already complied her role in the obligation, so she was already waiting for the delivery of the MegaWorld for her to complete her role in the transaction po.
So because this involves a reciprocal no obligation, no,
Yes.
on MegaWorld to complete and deliver the condominium unit. Oh. Okay. How about the case of a General Milling Corporation versus Spouses Ramos?
Good evening, attorney.
For a while kasi nawala akong kalit akong internet pero nabalik na siya. Pwede lang. Arrange na po niya po ang kawal. Pwede lang. Okay, we have a volunteer. Isa man na si Sir, isa man yung filter.
Sir Salinas, attorney. Filtration Salinas po. Good evening.
So, did you submit your index card, sir?
Yes po, attorney. During the face-to-face class.
Okay. Sige. You proceed.
Well, in the case of General Milling Corporation versus Spouses Ramos, General Milling Corporation petitioned the Supreme Court against spouses Librado Ramos and Remedios Ramos to reverse the Court of Appeals decision and that affirmed the nullity of the extrajudicial foreclosure of sale. The issue of the case, whether the extrajudicial foreclosure was valid in the absence of this.
Okay, what was the contract between the General Milling Corporation and Spouses Ramos in this case?
They are having the spouses executed a deed of real estate mortgage over the property, including
Okay.
their conjugal home.
Okay. So what happened thereafter? So the spouses failed to pay the obligation, no? Ano na itambok yun, no? Ano niabot ani nga kaso? The spouses failed to pay the obligation. And then GMC foreclosed the property. Is that correct? Sir Patricio?
The GMC argued that in their letter dated March 31, 1997 constituted sufficient demand. The petition, the Court of Appeals erroneously considered issue of demand despite it not being raised below. The foreclosure was proper as the spouses were in default due to unpaid obligation under the contract. Then the respondent claims the spouses Ramos contended that no valid demand for full payment was made as GMC's letters merely requested discussion of settlement. The obligation was not yet due and demandable without such demand, and the foreclosure was premature, violating the rights under the mortgage contract. So, the Supreme Court upheld the nullity of the foreclosure, finding no valid demand and thus no default. So, the contract lacked the provision dispensing with demand. GMC's letters did not constitute a clear demand for full payment, but only invitation to discuss settlement without demand. The spouses were not in default, making the foreclosure invalid. The court conferred to factual findings on the absence of demand. The decision penned by Justice Velasco Jr.
Okay, thank you, Sir Palito. In this case, no, there was a debt, and it was secured by a REM, real estate mortgage. The spouses defaulted. And allegedly, the GMC, the creditor, sent letters to the spouses for the settlement of the debt, no? And then there was foreclosure of the mortgage. So now the spouses questioned the foreclosure because according to the spouses, the foreclosure was premature because there was no demand. Ningon sila, no demand, no delay. So again, this reinforces our previous discussion na the fact na it's already due date and you did not pay, no, that is merely delay, but that is not default, no, contemplated under Article 1169. So you have to make a demand before there is default, no. So said the court, there was no demand, there was only request to settle. Therefore, the foreclosure was premature, no. Foreclosure was premature, and the court said that it is void by the foreclosure of the property. Okay, so that is the case of General Milling Corporation versus Ramos. Sige. How about the case of Cortez versus Court of Appeals? Mark Liu, saan na magbasa?
Mark Liu, attorney.
Mark Liu.
So, in the case of
Forward. Mark Liu. Tuloy lang, pakita ko saan ako. So, submit man ka Mark, no, o
index type of
index.
this book.
Okay, so nakaduwa na ka, sige.
So, in the case of Cortez versus Court of Appeals, so this case was heavily reliant on the Article 1169 of the Civil Code. So, the facts are as follows. So, Antonio Cortez or Cortez is a seller and Cortez executed a contract of sale with Villa Esperanza or the corporation, which is Villa Esperanza is the buyer. So they executed a contract of sale for several lots in Parañaque for a total purchase price of 3,700,000. So the corporation had already advanced 1,213,000. So the deed of absolute sale stipulated two primary payment terms. First is down payment of 2,200,000 less the advance of 1,213,000 and the balance of 1,500,000. Now the deed was retained by Cortez for notarization. Now the corporation filed a suit for specific performance to compel Cortez to deliver the TCTs or the transfer certificate of titles and the original copy of the deed of sale, deed of absolute sale, alleging Cortez refused delivery despite the corporation's readiness to pay the purchase price. Now,
Sige, question, Sir Mark Villania. So, let's establish the facts. The corporation was not able to pay the full purchase price, correct?
Yes, attorney.
But it is willing to pay, no?
Yes, attorney.
Okay. On the other hand, the spouses, no, they will not deliver the property.
Yes, attorney.
No, they will not deliver the TCT of the property to deliver possession of the property or surrender possession of the property. Question: was there delay in this case?
No, attorney.
And why is that?
There is no delay because it says that when a party do not incur delay if the other does not comply or is not ready to comply.
Okay, so there was delay on both parties, no? There is compensation more, no? Matutong i-discuss, no? Both are considered in delay. Effect of that is that it's as if there was
It cancels the effects of default, attorney, if there's compensation or attorney.
no delay on both parties, for both parties. No? So, on sa inyo sa korte, corporation, you pay the full purchase price. That's a time na you can demand delivery of the title and you can demand the surrender of possession of the property na from the Cortes, no? Cortes, you deliver the title, surrender possession. So they're both considered in delay. So the delay of the corporation, however, is cancelled by the delay of Cortes. So that is the case of Cortes versus Court of Appeals, no? Yeah, let me see my. Yeah. So 1170. Now this is this enumerates now the ways of voluntarily committing breach of your obligation. And how do you voluntarily commit breach of your obligation? Through fraud, through negligence, through delay, and contravention of the tenor of your obligation. And your remedy is one for damages. So therefore, kung giilad, there is fraud, there is negligence, there is delay, you cannot cancel or you cannot rescind the contract, no, because your remedy is one for damages. However, we will discuss no further, no, because there are, say for example, we already discussed negligence and delay, diba? Gano'n na ta, na-discuss na ta na if you were wala na ta sa ano? Wala pa sa negligence, no? If delay, we have discussed that already, or the contravention of the tenor. If you are considered in default, no, you delay, no, in delivery of your obligation, you are liable for damages, no. And if you contravene the tenor of your obligation, no, you are also considered. You will be liable for damages, no. Then let's talk about fraud, okay? Okay, and the damages contemplated may be actual or compensatory, maybe moral damages. No, when we say actual or compensatory, no, you have to. This refers to the actual loss, the pecuniary loss, no, such as loss of business or profession that may be recovered. No? you have to prove it by receipts, no official receipts or invoices, no, to prove how much damage, no, did you suffer, no, because of this, because of the fraud, the negligence, the delay, or the contravention of the tender committed by the obligor or the debtor, no. Or it could be moral damages, no, for your physical suffering, mental anguish, fright, anxiety, besmirched reputation, wounded feelings, moral shock, social humiliation, and similar injury. Or it could be nominal damages, no? Say, to vindicate or recognize a right and not for indemnifying any loss suffered. Temperate or moderate, they are more than nominal but less than compensatory damages. No, but the court may award it, no, if the court finds that you cannot substantiate, no, the amount, no, the pecuniary loss that you suffered. So, wala kayong mga resibo, wala kayong mga invoices, no. So our court will award temperate or moderate damages. Excuse me, Kasa. So temperate and moderate or moderate damages or liquidated damages. For example, in your contract, nakabutan na dito, no, if you will violate your undertaking in the contract or violate your prestations, any of provisions of this contract, you will be liable to pay 10,000 pesos as liquidated damages. No, there's no need for you to prove the injury you suffered. No, because it's already liquidated, agreed na sa in the contract, no, liquidated damages. And then exemplary or corrective damages, no, imposed by way of example or correction to deter, no, public, for purposes of deterrence, no. So others will avoid committing the same mistake again. The public will be deterred, no, from committing the mistake again, no. So exemplary or corrective damages. Okay? Sige. So negligence, no. 1170 kaya po na remedy of for damages, no, for damages. Prudential Bank versus Court of Appeals and Valenzuela, chair number 125536, March 16, 2000. So we have Ma'am Jenny May Cofreros for a while, Ma'am Jenny, and I have to find your index card first. Okay. Okay. What is this case all about? Very concisely and briefly tell us about the case.
Leticia Tupac Valenzuela, which is a private respondent, maintains savings and current accounts with Prudential Bank. So on June 1, 1988, she deposited a check for 35,271. And due to misposting and delayed crediting of the deposit, her post-dated check for 11,500 was dishonored. The bank charged a penalty and failed to credit her account properly for 23 days. So the bank acknowledged the error but failed to promptly remedy it, causing embarrassment, anxiety, and potential loss to respondent. So the RTC dismissed the respondent's complaint for damages, but the Court of Appeals reversed, awarding moral damages, exemplary damages, and attorney's fees. So for the issue whether the bank is liable for damages due to its negligence or failure to exercise the diligence required of it in handling a depositor's account under Article 1170 of the Civil Code. So yes, the Prudential Bank is liable for negligence. So under Article Portal 1170. So those who are of damages in case of breach of obligation through fault or negligence. So the bank's misposting and delay in crediting the deposit amount to negligence, even if unintentional or without malice. So the court stressed the fiduciary nature of the bank-depositor relationship, requiring utmost diligence in handling deposits. So the bank's lack of supervision and improper handling caused embarrassment, anxiety, and inconvenience, which justifies moral and exemplary damages. So the court reduced exemplary damages to 20,000 and attorney's fees to 30,000, finding the original amounts excessive but affirmed that.
Sige. No need to discuss the amount, no, Ma'am Jenny. Again, you learn how to, to filter katong mga unnecessary facts. No, you just establish na there was simply a misposting, no? Mura jud yung facts ani. Fully funded ang yang but the bank failed to, there was a misposting in this case. So when the client issued a check, it bounced. The check bounced because of insufficient fund. Because the bank failed to post the deposit made by the client. So the bank is negligent. So therefore, it is liable for damages. No, it is liable for damages suffered by. It is liable for moral damages and even for exemplary damages. Okay, so that is the case of Prudential Bank versus Court of Appeals. Sige. How about the case of Saludaga versus FEU? So, tignan may una kuha na lang. Ano na tawag no? Pawal ka sa tayo tulo ka buko. Sige, kamo na lang tulo. Okay, kamo tulo, okay ra? Tanong tamong tulo. Si Michelle Gonda, tanong na to ha. Pinsay nag-kuansay niyo ha. O si Ma'am, sa apelido ni Ma'am Lee. And then we have Adjadan, no? So let me find your index cards first. Nag-submit ba mo ang index card?
Attorney, I don't have index card submitted
sige.
yet.
Oh. Next time na lang ka, sir, Adjadan.
Yes, attorney. Tomorrow. Thank
Si
you.
Ma'am Dina May. Ma'am Dina May. Sa apelido ni Ma'am Lee, no? Okay, Dina May. And then we have Gonda. So, nag-submit ka, ma'am, no?
Yes, attorney.
Okay. Sige. Attorney, ano siya, kanang duel, battle round ni si Juan. Dina May, si Gonda. Sige, atang na token sa iyaw. Sige. Okay. Sige. Kamong duha ha. Kamong mga duha nag-volunteer. So, who are the parties to this case, Ma'am Dina May?
The parties to this case, attorney, is there is the petitioner Saludaga, and the respondent is the FEU.
No, what is the relationship between Saludaga and FEU?
Saludaga is a student of FEU. He was shot within the school premises by one of the security guards of the FEU under a third-party agency, and he was rushed to the hospital, and then the guard was then brought to the police, but then he was
So, Ma'am Dina, tama na no, yung mga kumalon dito, di na ka balo siguan, no, masael, no. So, kung sa may kurso ni, unsay kurso ni Joseph Saludaga, Ma'am Masael?
He was a law student, attorney.
sophomore law student. Okay, so FEU, school, and then we have a student, and then we have a security guard. Who is the employer of the security guard, Mama Shael?
FEU attorney.
Was it the FEU or there was a...
There was actually a third-party complaint by the FEU against Galaxy Agency.
So it was the Galaxy Agency, as kanang security agency, tama ba? Security personnel agency, kung how do you call it, no? So, okay. Nagi-pusil si Saludaga by the security guard. Correct? No, security guard. So, first question, was FEU negligent in this case? Was it negligent?
Yes.
Honda, si Ma'am Masael.
Yes, attorney.
Sige, how was it negligent? No, he is not the he was merely it was merely the schoolman. No, it's not the the employer of the security guard who shot
Because because FEU attorney failed to verify the qualifications of the security guards, provided by the Galaxy Agency attorney.
So there was actually a breach of contract here, no? So si Saludaga, his cause of action, he chose to file a case, no, against FEU. Now, what is the cause of action of Saludaga against the FEU? Why did he file a case against FEU?
Because FEU failed to comply with their obligation to provide a safe and secure environment for the students.
Okay, and what is therefore the violation of that?
A violation of culpa contra from the contractual or negligence in the contractual obligation with the FEU in
So-
providing
Okay, in providing safe
environment for the students.
for the student. So there was actually a breach, no, of contractual obligation. There was culpa contractual or negligence in the performance of the contract. Okay, that is one cause of action that Joseph, in fact, muna yung cause of action that gipili ni Joseph Saludaga, no, to file a breach of contract, no, case for breach of contract against FEU for its negligence. So take note. How about, okay, what are, Ma'am Masael, can he file, we are talking about civil liability, can he file, what are other causes of action that Joseph Saludaga can file? Can he file against the agency, security agency? Pwede ba siya mag-file?
I think no, attorney. Wait lang.
Di na may. Pwede ba siya mag-file o gano'n?
Civil, no attorney, because the contract is only between the FEU and the security agency, so there is no obligation between the security agency and Saludaga, except for the criminal liability of the Rosette, the security guard, which was dismissed because
You're already done with your criminal law, di ba?
yes, attorney.
Can the employer, can the security agency be liable civilly to Saludaga? How can it become liable to Saludaga under your criminal law?
Under wait. So, wait.
So, paano man siya maging liable ang employer for the civil liability for the crime committed by its employee? How can okay, what is the nature of the liability of the employer no, in criminal cases against the employee, Ma'am Masael Gonda. Isumbong tang Attorney Bukol, no? Muna.
Go at Lina. Cream two people.
In what?
Civil identification of damages.
No, sige. So, when can the
Subsidiary liability. Diary liability, yeah, tama.
subsidiary,
Subsidiary liability.
Of
Subsidiary
the-
penalty.
and how do you attach the subsidiary liability of the employer? What are the proofs? No, the proof that you need to establish.
For subsidiary liability to
Sorry.
be attached, subsidiary liability to be attached to the employer, there is need for the lawyer. The employer should be guilty.
The employer?
The security agency should be guilty with the case filed.
Di man to, di ba, pwede din mo file ng criminal case, security agency, ma'am.
No,
Only
Civil.
the employee. Now, you have to prove, what are the things to prove? Conviction and
Conviction and conviction and second one.
Ma'am Gonda. Sige, natawa si Ma'am Gonda.
Conviction
Attorney, I'm sorry. Sige, go at it.
conviction and sa second one.
Relationship.
No. L ang
Solvency. Oh,
conviction and
solvency.
yeah, insolvency of the other party.
What do you mean other party? The employee, no?
Oh
You
yes.
have conviction of the employee, and then you have to prove that the employee is insolvent. So that's the employer is liable, no? But the liability of the employer is only subsidiary. And aside from that, no, that is culpa criminal. How about culpa
Abuse only of the
culpa
obligations
criminal or tort?
with understanding that
For the
vouchers will be prepared
damages,
and the checks properly.
You can actually file a
filled out
case for
when
torts, no, culpa
December
aquiliana,
16.
or quasi-delict, no, against the school also, no, for its negligence, or against the employer even, no, the agency for failure to exercise the diligence, no, of a good father of the family in the selection and supervision of employees. But we will discuss, wala pa masiguro mo ana. But we will discuss that later, no, the difference. So kini nga kaso, pwede day ka og culpa contractual, no, against the school, pwede kag culpa aquiliana against the employer, no, or even against that person, no, nga kung or the negligence of that person, no, who shot sa lodaga, or it could be culpa contractual. Actually, that's what happened in the case dili pa in a later case, no, the remedy, which cause of action will the plaintiff pursue, no. Pwede ito nga mga causes of action. Breach of contract for culpa aquiliana or torts, no, or quasi-delict. Number 2. Number 3 is for katong culpa criminal. No, culpa criminal. Okay, take note of that. Sige. So the school is liable, no? There is a contract. How do you call the contract between Joseph Salodaga and the school, Ma'am Dina May?
contract of obligation between the school and
Tama siya ang kontrata sa school o sa kang Salodaga. Ma'am Gonda, kung sa tawag silang kontrata. The contract of enrollment.
Okay.
Okay. Hintay kung magsakay kag sakyanan no, kanang public transport kung sa tawag sa kontrata.
Passenger,
Contract of passenger. Contract of carriage, no?
carriage, okay.
Sige, mo wala. No? Mo. Sige, thank you so much, no? Sige. Sige. So, Salodaga versus FAU. Bank of America, MT, and SA versus Philippine Racing Club. Sige, si Isabel and Cristel. Teya, kumulo ka? Naman naman ka, Isabel, no? Last meeting.
Yes, attorney. Mariano Lanfer-Wolf na case, attorney.
Ah, okay. Kinsa to isa, si Cristel. Did you submit your, your class, your index card? Or did you submit it? Or wala ko?
I asked Ms. May po.
Kinsa man yung mga gikuan. Nanay. So, Cristel, this is Christine J. Right. I think you have no, index card, ma'am. Kinsa man yung mga kuan. Ma'am Cristel, kaya itong minusan po, nag-submitan. Isa man yung
It's okay, attorney. I'll just submit to power po.
Okay, so, see, another volunteer. Madamay pa, no? Another volunteer. Aside from, si Isabel, and then we have si Villarosa. How do you pronounce your name? Blanche?
Branch attorney.
Sige, Blanche. Nag-submit ka na?
Yes po.
Hindi lisod pag pag volunteer eh. Ako may mangita. Dapat ako may Sige lang.
Attorney, na-receive mo yung message ko kanina.
What message? Naba ko na ako pero wala ako nabasa.
Nag-message po ako, attorney, regarding if malaw baka na bahiran ng case all throughout para makarecite ang tanan tapos dili lang isa ka tao bitaw ang kana magbalik-balik over recite.
No, I will not allow it. No, mawala ang thrill ninyo, no? Kung magano mo, no? I-assign ninyo ang cases. No? Kung magsalig lang.
Thank you po.
Basahon lang naka-assign sa inyo ang case. So, isa to si Isabel. Wala kay index card, no? Mama, no? Alalay, Villarosa. Blanche. And then we have Valias. Okay. Sige. Bank of America, NT, and SA versus Philippine Racing Club. Okay. So, what was the relationship between, who are the parties to the case, Ma'am Blanche?
So, our attorney, the president and the vice president of the Philippine Racing Club pre-signed checks to ensure continuity of their operation in their absence. And during the second week of December, someone presented 2 pre-signed checks for encashment at Bank of America, Paseo de Rojas branch. So in the checks, they bore genuine signatures of the authorized signatories, but there are several irregularities that were immediately apparent. But despite these irregularities, the Bank of America encashed the checks without verifying the legitimacy of the entries or confirming with the
with the PRCI, even though a simple telephone verification call would have taken less than 10 minutes. So the PRCI,
Ma'am Blanche, the signatures were genuine.
the signature were, yes, attorney, they bore genuine signatures.
Signatories. Who were the signatories in this case? For the bank or for the PRC?
The president and the vice president of the Philippine Racing Club.
So tama ba, Isabel, no? They issued pre-signed check. So gipirmahan lang niya, of course, no? The signatures, their signatures were genuine, no?
Yes,
But
attorney.
how was the check? How were the check defective? Why were they what's the reason why PRC was questioning or the encashment of the amount of the check? Ano naman? Isabel, kung sa may gipang dito sa cheque, what are the irregularities found on the checks?
Di ba, certain John Doe, he presented to bank for encashment of a couple of corporation checks with the indicated value of 110,000 pesos each. So it is admitted that these two checks daw, they were among the pre-signed checks by plaintiff appellee corporations authorized signatories. However, despite the highly irregular entries on the face of the checks, sorry, attorney, na ay occasion sa baba, defendant appellate bank, without as much verifying or confirming the legitimacy of the checks, kay they considered the substantial amount involved and the obvious infirmity or defect on their faces, then they encashed said checks.
So how are the checks effective, Isabel? There are infirmities on the face of the check. Why was it defective? Or
Ano, attorney? The two checks, they had similar entries with similar infirmities and irregularities. So on the space, kung asa dapat ang name of the payee should be indicated, of the following two-line entries, ang nasulat instead kay written on the upper line kay the word cash, while in the lower line kay it had the following typewritten words, 110,000 pesos only, attorney.
okay. So there was a third person, an authorized person who completed the details of the check, no? So in such a case, that John Doe, without authority, completed entries in the pre-signed checks. And siguro considering the substantial amount involved, suppose the checks were supposed to, as mentioned by si Blanche, the purpose for pre-signing, what was the purpose for pre-signing a check, Blanche?
So the purpose of the president, the vice president pre-signing the checks, attorney, is to ensure the continuity of their operation, because
So for operational expenses lang niya, tapos abot og 100,000 ang withdraw, no? So from a certain John Doe, and the bank failed to validate the legitimacy of the entries in that check. So therefore, do you agree that the bank is negligent or was negligent, Isabel?
Yes, attorney. Kay going back to the case of Associated Bank versus Tan, di ba, na banks are they are they have the obligation to treat their clients' accounts meticulously, and ang ilang diligence, it required more than that of a good father of the family. However, in this case, attorney, applicable ang doctrine of last clear chance. So both PRCI and the bank are negligent, attorney.
So how was the liability apportioned in this case, Blanche? So,
The decision acknowledges that while PRC owned negligent practices contributed to the incident, the Bank of the BA failure to leverage its superior position and control in verifying the checks was decisive factor.
yeah, and how was the liability apportioned or divided? Blanche. Sige, si
So
Isabel. Okay, Blanche.
The liability, the Bank of America was held primarily responsible, bearing 60% of the damages resulting from the encashment, considering that it has had last clear opportunity to prevent the fraud, and the PRCI was assigned 40% of the loss due to its contributory negligence arising from its practice of pre-signing and mishandling
Check.
blank
So,
checks.
to recover the amount of the check, 60-40 man. So, nakabayad ng 60 si bank, si client nakabayad ng 40. How can they recover their, the damages though that they will pay? How can they recover? What is the remedy? Isabel, how can they recover the amount? Say for example, the amount is 200,000 pesos, so the bank is liable for 60% of that amount, so 120, and then the corporation is for 40%, so 80%. No? How can they recover the amount? Si Isabel.
Hello? Okay. So since ang bank is 60% liable, since di ba, the total amount of checks is 220,000, so since 60%, the bank is ordered to pay PRCI 132,000 pesos, and as per PRCI's loss, which is 40%, they must absorb or bear the loss of 88,000 pesos because of, again, their negligence on their part, because they could have called up client for verification or confirmation. So i-absorb nila or i-bear na lang nila ang loss, attorney, of 88,000 pesos, whereas the bank should pay PRCI 132,000 pesos, attorney.
So you mean wala na remedy ang bank and PRC? No, they'll just lose the 130,000 for the bank, 80,000 for the account. So, unsa man, wala na sila. If you are the lawyer for the bank or the PRC, how will you recover the amount? Isabella.
I think it's right, attorney, kay PRCI had negligence on their part. Kaya a simple phone call would, again, heeding to the facts of the case, diba? A simple 10-minute call, a simple call would have been 10 minutes lang to confirm the checks. Whereas the bank, again, katong pursuant to previous case law, provided na ang bank ay they have kanang more than the diligence of a good father. So I think tama lang, attorney, na they have to absorb the 88,000 pesos.
So meaning, wala kayo mahimo to recover the amount, 88,000 pesos, is just simply, you have no other remedy in law, you cannot file a case against.
Attorney, because they cannot recover it from the bank, kay mura man gud siya.
Yes.
I don't know the correct term. Would it be right to say punishment, attorney? for their behavior of
Negligence also. How, sige daw,
pre-signing blank checks.
blanch. So if you're a lawyer for PRC, so many may pag-recover sa ano. Kinsa man ka mag-file og case, dito na lang ka sa kinsa man blanch. Katong employee nga na
Ay,
Withdraw.
katong certain John Doe attorney.
ito ka na gyapon kay remedy if you're the lawyer, no? Pwede gyapon nimo if you can identify that person, no, of course you can, no? Siguro considering CCTVs from the bank, etc. No, or the John Doe, no, could not, it must have presented some identification. So you can file a case against the John Doe, no, for the fraudulent conduct, no, perpetrated, no. Sige. That is the case of Bank of America NT. Duka magud mo no mo nang ano. Sige. Okay. See, Bank of NT, of America NT and SA versus Philippine Racing Club. So, next case, okay. So, fraud. So, what is the, sige daw, can si Blanche yapon o si Isabel, what is the fraud contemplated under Article, Blanche, Isabel, what is the fraud contemplated under Article 1170? Isabella.
Hello, attorney?
Yes. If you are guilty of fraud, you're liable for damages. What kind of fraud is contemplated under Article 1170? Is it causal fraud or incidental fraud?
Oh, the kinds of fraud under the case, attorney?
No, under Article 1170. Diba? If you are guilty of fraud, you're liable for damages. No? So what kind of fraud is that? We have incidental fraud or causal fraud. Which fraud is contemplated under Article 1170 and 1171?
Incidental fraud, attorney.
Okay. If it is causal fraud, what is your remedy?
If it is causal fraud, attorney, kay the remedy is
About the fraud, the meeting of the minds of the
yes,
party.
attorney.
Okay.
The remedy is to file. I know that's. Ano.
We continue
The
to
remedy
file.
is to file kanang annulment of contract because such contract is defective. Hence, the contract is deemed as voidable contract. Attorney.
Okay, are you convinced with your answer?
So, attorney.
That is actually correct, no? The contract is defective. If it is causal fraud, no, the fraud prevented the meeting of the minds of the party. Therefore, the contract is voidable. Therefore, your remedy is one for annulment. Now, if it's incidental fraud, no, your remedy is for damages. So, under Article 1170 and 1171, no? And take note, can you waive actions for fraud? You can waive for past fraud, no? But not for future fraud. No, it is void. It is against public policy. Di na ako mag-file og kaso bisang pag-unsaon kung ilad, no? It's not allowed, no? It's against public policy. No? But if, say, for example, somebody committed staffa, no, against you, you can actually forgive that person, no, or waive any action that you may have against that person. That is allowed because rights, no, may be waived, no. But for future fraud, that is not allowed. The waiver is considered void. Yeah. Sige. Responsibility from negligence, arising from negligence, they're also demandable, in every kind of obligation. But there may be mitigation. In example na to, katong Bank of America, there was mitigation. The court applied the last clear chance. So the liability of the bank was mitigated, because the client was also liable for negligence. The client was also negligent. Okay. 1173 gives us the legal definition of negligence. And now, if you are asked, what do you mean by negligence? It is the omission of the diligence which is required by the nature of the obligation and corresponds with the circumstances of the persons, of the time, and of the place. So negligence is actually a relative concept. You let's say, for example, if you are driving a busy street, less diligence is required of you. If you are driving in a, say, rural areas or on a highway, unlike kung nakakaya sa mga busy streets, so it's different. Or when you are riding during daytime, or when you are riding when it's rainy, then the road is slippery and wet, different diligence is required. So meaning circumstantial, relative, the concept of negligence. So however, when negligence shows bad faith, 1171, yes, you will be liable for damages. Okay, if the lower contract does not the default, na diligence under the law is the diligence of a good father of a family. And then how do you define diligence of a good father of a family? What is the if you are asked, if you are obliged to deliver a specific or determinate thing, you are obliged to take good care of the thing with the diligence of a good father of a family. So ito, how do you define diligence of a good father of a family? What does that mean, gani? I think I mentioned that to you already. Sige, unsa man. Simply, okay, permanent ninyo madunggan ng diligence of a good father of a family. Saan man dapat dapat wala kag papa or father taking care of your children, is that it? Sige daw, si Sir Casano Retardo. Sir, how are you related to Attorney Retardo?
Hello, Sir Maclaro, sir.
Yes. How are you related to Attorney Retardo?
Ako ang papa rin, sir.
Papa lagi. Casano, junior ka no?
The third ko, sir.
Junior?
The third ko.
The third.
Yes po, sir.
Sige. Casano. Okay. Now, what do you mean by diligence of a good father of a family? How do you define that?
Kuan, sir, like taking care of the kanang alagaan mo mayo imong kontrata, sir, ba kanang dili compromise imong mga obligations, sir, kanang i-take care gid nimo ug sa inyong nasabutan ba or wala na sa kuwang pagsabot, sir.
Okay. Simply how you take care or how you manage your own property, your own affairs. That is the diligence of a good father of a family. If, say for example, if you have a valuable thing, how do you care for it? How do you treat it with care? So that's the diligence of a good father of a family. Equivalent to that, how you take care of your own personal things. So muna siya ang pinaka-basic na diligence required. If there is no the law or the contract does not provide for the degree of diligence to be observed, use the diligence of a good father of a family. Okay? Sige. Now, I have already introduced to you katong culpa contractual, no, culpa aquiliana, or other terms for that is quasi-delict, and another term is tort, no? And then we have the third kind, culpa criminal. You have to familiarize yourselves, no, with these kinds of culpa, no, or negligence. No, we have culpa criminal again, culpa aquiliana, and then culpa contractual. So let's differentiate the three. Very important ha, antod moabot mo fourth year mo ni kuan dapat you have to understand the difference between these three, no? In a culpa contractual, there is negligence in your contract, in the performance of your contractual obligation. There's a contract and you were negligent, so that is culpa contractual. Okay? And in culpa aquiliana, no, your negligence caused damage to another person. But take note, there is no pre-existing contractual relation, because again, if there is a contract, it is culpa contractual. So kung walay kontrata, but your negligence causes damage to another person, not amounting to a crime, it's culpa aquiliana. No? Now, there is no existing contract and your negligence causes damage to another or results to the commission of the crime, it's culpa criminal. No, take note of that. Your reckless imprudence, no, resulting to homicide or damage to property, or even estafa by negligence. Cases, no, you allowed your employees to commit estafa under your watch. You will be held liable for estafa because of your negligence. No, so take note sa culpa contractual, there's an existing contract and you were negligent in the performance of your contract. Sa culpa aquiliana and culpa criminal, no contract. Okay? Sa culpa contractual, the source, di ba, sa ganitong the source of your obligation is your breach of contract. Your negligence resulted to the breach of the contract. No? Sa culpa aquiliana, the source of your obligation is your negligence. In culpa criminal, it's your criminal act. Okay? Sa culpa contractual and culpa aquiliana, since they are civil cases, no, arose from civil cases, no, they require preponderance of evidence. No? Sa culpa criminal, requires proof beyond reasonable doubt. So you have to prove that the employee is convicted, no, or you have to prove that the elements of the crime, no, to hold, no, your debtor or your obligor liable civilly. Now take note, under Article 100 of the Revised Penal Code, no, every person criminally liable is also civilly liable. No, so take note. Sige, in a culpa contractual, di ba? There's a contract, say for example, contract of carriage, no? You were injured as a passenger, no, na disgrasya, you were injured, you suffered injury. Or your goods while in transit, no, they were damaged. Or say for example, food panda, no, pa-deliver kang food, pag-abot ka, nagyabo-yabo, no? There is a breach of contract, no? There is culpa contractual. Correct? Sige. Forward. So therefore, you cannot raise the defense that, no, you exercise, no, the diligence of a good father of a family in the selection and supervision of employees, no, because in culpa contractual cases, class, no, all you have to do is to prove the existence of the contract and to prove that injury suffered by the offended party, and it's enough already to raise the presumption of negligence. No, forward. Sige, going back. No, culpa contractual. So you cannot prove that you exercise the diligence of a good father of a family in the selection and supervision of your employees. No, because again, you simply have to prove the existence of a contract and an injury suffered by the offended party, and there's already presumption of negligence. Okay. However, okay, the liability may be mitigated. No, the liability may be mitigated if it is found out that you are also the other party, the offended party, is also liable for negligence. No, he was also negligent in on his part. No, so the liability of the defendant may be mitigated. So sa culpa actuariana, you have to prove the negligence because your cause of action is, or the primary source of the obligation is the negligence itself. So you have to prove the negligence. Okay, and therefore, if you can prove also that you exercise the diligence of good father for family in the selection and supervision of employee, then you may be absolved from liability. No, diba? You are liable not only for your own negligence, but also for the negligence of your employees. Now you are in fact solidarily liable. No, if your employees were negligent, you are also liable. Say for example, taverns, innkeepers. No, you are liable for the negligence of your staff. No, you are liable. So culpa actuariana, you have to prove the defense of a good father for family is a valid defense. Sa culpa criminal, it's not a valid defense, but your liability may be mitigated. And again, the liability of the employer is only subsidiary in nature. Only upon proof of conviction of an insolvency of the employee is the liability of the employer arise. No. Okay. In culpa contractual case, no? Again, as I mentioned, no? Only proof of existence of the contract and breach thereof, so meaning the injury you suffered, there's already presumption of fault or negligence. Now, in culpa quereliana, you have to prove the negligence of the defendant. In culpa criminal, you know it already, the accused is presumed innocent until his guilt is proved beyond reasonable doubt. Okay, take note of that. Take note of the distinction. Okay. Central Bank of the Philippines versus City Trust Banking Corporation. Okay, GR number 141835 from February 4, 2009. It's already 9:30. So we will proceed. We will continue with this case tomorrow na lang. Okay, it's we have less than 2 minutes na. Well, do you have any questions? Please, don't forget to submit your index cards tomorrow. Find ways na masubmit ang inyong index card. You can submit it at my law office, no? I think you are resourceful, no? Makita lang ninyo ako law office, you ask for someone, no? Sige. Question from Sir Engelbert. Uy.
Attorney, sa Cagayan de Oro po ako, attorney. So, saan ako pagpakuan sa index card na po, attorney?
Ask your classmate, Sir Uy, no? To submit a class card for you.
Thank you,
Wala kay
attorney.
friend. You can request.
I'll try it, attorney, if they can agree.
Let's, ma'am, kinsa may pwede mo kuhan kay mo cover for Sir Engelbert Uy. Kaya submitin ninyo si kuhan. Okay, other questions or concerns before we call it a night? Wala na, no? Okay, sige. I'll see you tomorrow. And we will start with the case Central Bank of the Philippines versus City Trust Banking Corporation. Okay. let's see if I'll allow volunteers for tomorrow. So we'll meet 7:30 to 9:30 tomorrow, okay? I think there's already screenshots there are already screenshots for our meeting today. Thank you, Ma'am Libre, no? Mary Libre. So I'll see you tomorrow, class. You may now leave the Zoom classroom.
Thank you, Attorney.
Thank you.